Ganda ko. Oh my god. Anyway. Never mind. Like, we make do with what we have. Anyway, hi. It's been 2 years since I posted my first video here on YouTube, and for those of you who don't know, it was about my board exam story. Basically, it was how I passed my board exam for psychometricians. I self-reviewed and I gave out tips that helped me navigate the whole thing on my own. Well, of course, I had the support of people, but it was very different from attending review classes. And since that video got uploaded, since it was published for people to see, I've gotten so many questions after that, so many questions from people, and I felt like it was too nosy. What's next? Like, now that you have your license, what are your plans now? What are you doing now? Are you practicing your license? Is it worth it to take the BLEPP? Should I go for it after college graduation? So I have to admit, for a time, I really did avoid answering those questions, because not only did it add to the existential crisis that I had already been suffering from, it was also a bit too personal for me to address at that time. 2 years later, here we are. So this video is just me answering all those questions that I felt were too straightforward at that time. So let's start first with why I took the board exam in the first place. It was 2018. I had just graduated from university in June. I'm from UST, by the way, UST psychology, and I was very much intent on going to law school. I was like, yeah, after years of pining for the med dream, I had wanted to become a doctor growing up. I realized that given the skill set that I developed throughout my academic life, I realized that I fit law school even more. Spoiler alert, I'm not in law school. Yeah, that was the plan. But, 4 years of university really drained me. Even if I loved my program, I really enjoyed psychology, I was so tired. I did not want to really overwhelm myself even more, because law school is a whole different story. Graduate studies is a whole different thing. Even if you say that you're very passionate about it, you're very much into it, it's still a different thing when you pursue it. So I was like, okay, let's do a gap year. And I was like, this is getting too boring. But at the same time, I did not want to get a job first. Luckily, I was privileged enough to decide not to get a job immediately. Not everybody has that safety net. And looking back, I'm glad that I decided to rest. But given how easily bored I got, I decided to start studying for the board exam. I was just like, I'm not really doing anything, and the rest of my 2018 isn't really dedicated to anything. Why not study? And I enjoyed. It was fun, because it was for fun, and it was basically my way of buying myself time before I'd make a career decision that would influence the next 5 years of my life. I decided to just go for it. I had nothing to lose. So to lessen the risks and the investment in this decision, I decided to self-review. At the same time, I was bothered by this fear of failure. It's a constant thing. And I just really wanted to do my best. I felt like that was my way of compensating for how poorly I performed in university. I was that student who excelled from elementary to high school and then just met her downfall, her flop era during university. I wasn't the best student out there, and I know that I could have done better, but I felt like studying for the boards was my way of making up for it, so to speak. And yeah, I just asked for help from so many different people for more resources that I could hold on to while I take on this journey alone. I'm lucky that all my hard work paid off and I passed. And by like November, I found out that I topped the boards. And, the feeling was very fun. I remember drinking with my mom the previous night, like the night before that. And I really remember telling her that I was just so anxious because there weren't results yet, and we were expected to receive it the day before the results actually came out. When then the results actually came out, I just burst into tears. I actually had the audacity to check the list of top notchers first, and it wasn't hard for me to find my name on it. I was like really taken aback. I was like, really? Is it me? Because, in UST, I think I share a name with somebody else. Yeah, there's another Justine Reyes in my batch, as far as I remember. And I thought at first that it was her, but it was me. Like, it was me. And I was like, And I just burst into tears. Happiest moment of my life, I was not able to sleep that night. And like everything else, like after, that thing when you achieve a goal that you've been wanting for so long, and then when you finally achieve it, you realize that you're not as happy as you were supposed to be. Like you expected to be much happier, or maybe you were as happy as you expected, but it was fleeting. I was like, okay, now what? I'm on the top now. Now what? And I was like, okay, so I'm now a psychometrician. Why not practice it? Like practice my license. I mean, I did not waste like the last half of 2018 working my butt off just to get a government ID. But spoiler alert, that it felt that way. Because when I started job hunting at the start of 2019, I would look for the word psychometrician, and these job posting sites did not lead anywhere. I remember even going to one website and it was just blank. It was just like, well, 0 results. And I was like, okay. A lot of the time when people ask me what my profession is, I tell them by license I'm a psychometrician, and they always ask me, what is that? A psychometrician is a mental health professional who is responsible for the construction, revision, administration, and implementation of psychological tests under the supervision of a psychologist, of course. So basically, we're kind of like test proctors, and it's a very simplistic comparison, but that's basically what we are. And in psychological assessment, since these are very serious procedures, you of course need somebody who's licensed for it. And, at the time I thought that, hey, this is a pretty good job and I see its value. But the problem is, the rest of the country does not see it that way. That was the thing that I realized after I passed and when I started looking for a job. I remember that there was one company, though, that called me up. They said that they were looking for a psychometrician, but the official job title was data analyst, and it was just somebody who needed to be well equipped in statistics. Like, I thought that was it, that was the chance for me to actually practice my license, but then I saw that I would be getting underpaid, and at the same time I wouldn't be really practicing what I spent the last 4 years studying in university. It was pretty sad, but I was like, okay, I'll keep trying. And one thing was for sure, I did not want to go into HR. Even if that they were looking for psychometricians, I did not want to venture into the field of human resource. This is not to say that this is me taking a dump on them and saying that it's a useless system, but what I'm saying is that given my internship experience, it wasn't something that I really enjoyed. I was good at it, yes. I have an aunt who's an HR manager, but I really did not feel fulfilled during my internship. And hearing stories from my tita, it just didn't really appeal to me. I was like, I can do that. And I did that during my internship, but I don't think that I'd find any kind of happiness in doing that kind of routine. to each his own, right? And so that narrowed down my journey to finding a job. Since I did not want to go into HR, I had two choices. Either I go to the clinical field or I venture into education. So I was pretty sure that I wanted to become a clinical psychologist when I was reviewing for my board exams. My favorite subjects back in undergrad were clinical psychology, abnormal psychology, the clinical subjects. And I really, like at the time, I was really considering it, like, hey, why not go to graduate school? But then I had to halt that thought first because I really did not want to go back to school immediately. I know, and I've talked to enough people to find out that it would be much better if you enter graduate school with some job experience. It could enrich your graduate studies even more. And I understood that. So I held on to that. So I was like, okay, clinical field, I just postpone it for the meantime. And this led me to the last field left, education. And if you watch my video on my internship experience, I talked about how my educational internship was the most fun that I've had in undergrad, and it came off as a surprise, honestly. Like, I was not really expecting to enjoy working for the guidance office. I was not expecting to enjoy working with students, but I did. And I was like, okay. I also remember having lunch with my ninang and my mom, and we talked about my career dilemma. And my ninang suggested, why not become a teacher? I was like, what? Me, a teacher? Like, not only do I not use my license, it's a whole different story. Because, sure, from like 2018 up until 2019, I'd get invited by different schools to talk about mental health to students, but teaching was a different thing. Speaking in an event is one thing, teaching is a whole different story. But I kind of considered it. I was like, yeah, okay, why not teach, And I did see people on Facebook who were graduates of UST psychology as well, who ended up becoming instructors, like in high school, university, you name it. And I was like, okay, this is a possible thing. And I was not discouraged by the salary of teachers. Like, teachers need to get paid more. I'm not saying this because, I'm not saying it just because. I'm saying it because I actually know what it's like to teach now. Because, yeah, I'm currently a teacher. And before we reach that ending, I just started applying to different schools. And surprisingly, I heard from two schools actually. And surprisingly, I got accepted. And I have been teaching for 2 years now. It's been fun. It was my first year of teaching last year. And then I'm on my second year now. And this is my first year teaching online. Hopefully my last, because I just miss being in a classroom. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, this is where I am now. I teach, and it's been a great experience. I mean, apart from the fact that we're like underpaid, I think that my job is challenging me enough to be a better person and like really hopefully inspire students to do better. Like, I'm the type of teacher who makes sure that she discusses psychology related stuff in every discussion, even if that's not what I teach. But yeah, it's been fun. Another thing I think that I was not able to address yet is were companies after you when you passed the board exams? Nah, I don't think I remember hearing from like big companies. Like, maybe if I tried applying for them, they probably would have considered. But in the job that I have now, when I wrote that in my resume, that they told me that that really kind of helped them consider me for the position. So yeah, in a way, I owe it to my license too. Currently, apart from teaching, I'm also taking up units in education so that I can work on earning a second license, which is for teaching. Yeah, that's it so far. And hopefully when I finish earning units and I take the let and maybe I teach for a few more years, when I teach for a few more years, I get to go to graduate school and study clinical psychology. I think that's the goal. Yeah. So I think the last question that I have to address here, is it worth it to take the BLEPP? Realistically, no. Especially if you're like a breadwinner or you don't have the financial security to spend so much on that. Just go find a job. I swear, like without a license, you will get by. Because I know that not everybody has that choice to take the boards, and I feel like there are people who don't take the boards and they feel like, oh, did I miss out? I'm telling you, as someone who took the boards and is not practicing her license, you're not missing out. I'm telling you, you're not missing out. If you want to, go ahead, but don't expect psychometricians to be appreciated by companies, because I feel like this is one of the things that has to be addressed. The implementation of the law that requires us to be licensed is not being implemented well. A lot of companies don't realize the value of a psychometrician, so I feel like it's also systemic, this whole issue. The reason why it's hard for psychometricians to get a job that allows them to practice their license is because companies don't understand why we need psychometricians. And I feel like when this problem gets addressed, when we get to promote the need for mental health professionals, more job opportunities can open for people, you know? That's pretty much the whole thing. I think I've said everything that I have to say about this topic, so I'll leave it at that. If you have other questions, concerns, comments, leave them down below. Either I'll get back to you or I make another video about it. Also, don't expect me to upload consistently here. I just upload when I feel like it, and the when I feel like it mood is very, very seldom, especially now that we're still in lockdown after like 8 months. But yeah, I'll see you when I see you, and I hope you're having an awesome day. Goodbye.